All right, people, here we go again. We got another box build for you here. Ported enclosure housing 4 8-inch EMF audio subs going in a 2010 Tahoe behind the third row. You heard me right, behind the third row. What I'm going to use here is use 1/2-inch MDF, and like when I do all my wedge enclosures, I always start with the dry fit so I can get my angles cut, prepped, and ready before I start the assembly process. Just showing you the process here, getting my edge, my pitch on my table saw, double checking, making sure everything is true. I like my angle, everything matches up, and here we go. 100% glue coverage as always. Setting the depth of my drill from when I pre-drill my holes on these 1.5-inch screws, star head screws. Clamps positioned. Hit it with a little bead of glue on the inside just to cap it on off. I can flip it over and work on the other end, get it screwed into place. Now I can go ahead and get my dividers set up, outside edges. All those are going to be the same size, so I'm going to do it all at the same time. Here I am setting up my marks, getting everything lined up. Double face tape. Use a scrap piece of MDF to push it through on the table saw to get that angled edge. It keeps it crisp and straight every single time. I swear by this. If you can do it, trust me, you'll love it. I'm just showing you here, when you measure from the bottom, you leave your pencil mark on. If you cut it off, you'll be below your mark, below the cut that you need to make. Ran through, got all of them pre-cut and ready. Now the interior ones is going to be a ported box, so all that is bracing. That's what I'm doing there. That's what them 3 inside pieces are for. Getting everything cut out. I always use my template pieces, scrap pieces of wood. Air nail it to the other piece. Rough it out with a jigsaw, finish it up with the flush trim bit, remove everything, and that'll show you how they'll look. Just like that right there. Which I'll round off the edges, you know me, you gotta get that airflow right. Just trying a different style, something different. I could have used wooden dowels, I normally do, but it's not a big deal, you know. Trying different things, I'm trying to stay creative, do something different. Won't be seen, but it's nice. It's nice to have. Nobody else out there has a box like that. Here, that little arrow is showing you the fall off piece that I showed you when you clamp them, so it keeps your clamp straight and it's not sliding on you. That's what that was for. Got one end secured into place. I'll flip it around, jump on this other end, just repeating the process. Clamped, glued, and screwed. Exteriors together. Now I'm going to transfer my inside bracing parts all the way around the box so I know where to place my screws so I do not miss when I get to pre-drilling. Here I am showing you the depth star head of the going with 1 1/4 inch, and actually the 1 1/4 inch, the 1 1/4 inch was too big. It was protruding through. I did a test run, so I ended up going back to 1 inch and just pre-drilling a little deeper just to grab onto that because that material is thin. It's not the thickest in the world. There you go, I'm showing you right there. Had to switch back to 1 inch to stop that splittage on this 1/2-inch MDF. Everything's lining out. Very happy with the way I went with this. Now I'm getting ready to assemble the porch. Gonna have to do a porch on this one on each end on the upper side of the box. Pre-fitting. Not a lot of space off in here, so you try to do as much as you can outside the box before you have to put it in. It just makes less work for you. Hit it with a small round over on the inside edges to help with airflow. Masking off my areas that'll be glued in later so they don't paint over them. That's what I'm doing there. I don't know what I did on that picture. But anyway, here we go. Got it primed up. Hit it with a coat of prime just to stop that paint from absorbing in as much. Brought it back over to the box, marked it, outlined it so I know where to do my screws as such. Hit it with that gloss black paint. Marked off my areas with tape and newspaper just to prevent overspray. Only spray what you can see from the port. It'll save you time and money, and it just looks better when you remove everything. Added the glue. This piece here is just a spacer to help keep it level when I put it in place so it don't dip down on me. That's all that's for. I removed that. Clamped into place, make sure everything was snug and tight before I started putting screws in. And there you go, got them both in place. Got the port firing up versus down because remember I'm all the way in the back of the truck, try to get all that sound up and over. And here I am checking my depth, making sure my clearances are so I know exactly where to position the sub so the magnet does not touch the back. And I'm going to flush mount it, but I'm going to do a recessed flush mount from the inside. That way the outside of my integrity, the outside dimensions does not change of the box, and I already accounted for this displacement as well when I did my figuring. Finding all my centerpieces, drilled through the flush trim rings that I'm going to put in there, marked it, centered it. That way I know where to glue, and everything will be uniform, everything will line up straight when I get to cutting holes later. That was the reason for the speed square and the drill, pushing the drill bit through the hole, going through both holes on the box and that flush trim piece. Double checking my mounting holes, outer and inner, making adjustments on my perfect circle jig, and went to work. That's the front baffle of the box. There's my recessed pieces that I'll be gluing to the back side. 100% glue coverage spread, and I'll set these in place and let them weight down. No screws, no tappers, no air nails. Just let it set overnight, let that glue do its work. Came back, removed it, ain't not going nowhere. Hit it with a little bead on the inside just for my own security. Now I can go ahead and get ready to seal it on up. Hit all my pressure points with glue. Added screws where I needed to adjust them. Whatever screws I could use here on this one, because like I said, to go 1 inch, couldn't go with the standard star head screws I was using. That's why those are in the middle like that. Oh yeah, coming together. Wide, slim, and tall. Just to give you an idea. Different profile angles here. I got creative trying to make sure I drilled my holes, because I'm adding some extra bracing across the middle parts just because I'm using 1/2 inch material and this box is so tall, even though it is thin. Pressed them into place, put my dowels in there, marked them, hit it with a nail, drove it all the way through so I know where to drill my screw in from the back side. That's the whole reason for that step there. Always pre-drill you would to prevent splitting. And just started putting them in place. You can see where I got the lines just above the subwoofer cutouts. That's where the bracing went. Here went ahead and work out the speaker terminal cutout. I started on this side and it was wrong. It's not gonna wire up on this side, so I filled it on in. I just pre-drilled it. Hit it with some glue, hit it with some sawdust, pushed it into place, sanded it, and you never know it was there. So I do make mistakes. I try to show you when I can, but all mistakes can be fixed. Remember that. All right, went ahead and roughed out the port openings, hit it with the flush trim bit. Got those set, now I'm getting ready to start adding hardboard. You know, I use my hardboard, but you can see it's not wide enough. This box is wider than the standard width. So I'm split the hardboard down the middle and added a spacer in the middle. In the middle piece, there's about 1 inch. That way I'm making it all the way to my ends, because I didn't want to cut and put pieces on the outside edges by the ports. Have to deal with all that's already thin enough as it is. Just repeated the process, clamped into place, routed them, flipped them over, put that rabbit bit on it, which allows me to touch, that's where I'm going to tuck my fabric. Slap some glue on it, put it back in place with some screws. Here it's so thin, I had to use nails. That's what that's for, just to hold it down in place. Sanded it smooth where I did that patchwork. Once I get it wrapped, you'll never know it's there. Same process on the back baffle, which is actually the front, is what this actually going to be, and it'll make sense later. Scrap pieces from cutouts of other boxes till I get my angle. I use stuff around the shop to get creative with it. Got the contour I wanted, the design I was looking for. I let the customer figure out what he wanted. He told me what he wanted, trying to make it happen for him. He does not want his subs facing back when he popped the hatch on. He wants them facing forward. He wants to design the beauty panel in the back when he pops the hatch. Old trusty double-sided tape. Some scrap pieces trimmed down to the side I needed, make my old home templates. That's what this is here. Roughed them out, hit them with the flush trim bit. And here I roughed out what I ran what I could, and I'll cut the rest by hand with the jigsaw. Cut my angles. Showing you right there. There it is. Repeat the process, put that over on the back side, put that rabbit bit on there. And I'm showing you here the width. This is what I'm saying. I got to make up for that difference, so I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to split it down the middle and then widen it out and put me some pieces down. That's what that piece there is for. I got double face tape to hold it in place, so when I cut it, it didn't move, flex, and jump on me. I got a straight cut. I'll just pop that piece off, and then add my 4 spacers in there. Now it's wide enough. Get everything marked up, cut, put the rabbit edge on the backs of these little pieces. This was tricky. It was kind of close to my fingers on this one. I was puckered up pretty tight. Just to show you what I'm talking about, I marked each one so I know how they went with numbers, so I wouldn't get backwards on it. Just pushing them back into place just for a visual. Now it's wide enough. And when it's wrapped, you'll have no clue that this was done. Go ahead and mark out the little plexi for it, where the decal will go. Everything cut out. Use my table saw. I cut all this out with my table saw. Now I'll go ahead and add the fabric, because I'm going to add the plexi and seal this beauty piece up. So I got to put this fabric down first in 2-part contact, spray adhesive surface and the fabric. Peel the back side of the protective coating off the plexiglass. Blow it off with the air hose. Press down your fabric into place, trim it out. I'll go ahead and adjust these screws. These screws are too long so they don't protrude all the way through, so I end up grinding some of them down on my grinding wheel. Adding glue and just showing you how I adjusted each piece into place here. Just use a scrap piece as a straight edge, slid it up into place before I drill my hose and screwed it in. To try to keep everything as true as possible. If something was off, hit it with a little light sand. I mean, it won't be nothing critical. That's what I'm showing you here. Fabric will hide a lot of this stuff. Sharp edges are not your friend when you're dealing with fabric, because it will tear. So that's why I hit it with a light sand and put a small round over on that. Here I'm putting some glue on the porous edges of MDF because it will draw in the paint color and it'll make it look different. So that's what that, rub it in with glue, let it dry, light sand, and then hit it with some paint. Try to keep your colors the same from that transition on different faces of the MDF. Ready to start wrapping it, hit it with some spray glue. Rubbing everything into place. This fabric stretches real good, so it really don't fight you. And here I'm showing you using my little tucking tool, tucking it in that rabbit edge. I cut on that MDF, or that hardboard pieces. Some relief cuts for the subs, rolled everything down, rolled it with my finger, kept pushing and pushing. Once I got all the contact surfaces to hit, then trimmed it on out. I always finish off the bottom of my boxes with staples. Always done it just by rollage later from that glue lifting. Masked off that porch section there just so I wouldn't get spray glue off inside. I'll trim it on out and tuck it as well. Finish those off. I just keep working my way around the box. Get back on the beauty panel side here. Just repeat my steps. Masking everything off for overspray. That's the reason for this newspaper and tape. Rubbed it on into place, cut my relief cuts, trimmed all the excess away that I needed. I started working around that plexi just a little at a time. Still leaving that protective edge on until I needed to remove it. Got that part in. Looking good. Oh yeah, he's gonna like this one. Now I'll go ahead and cut me some strips and I'll start filling in those slits and brown areas now. Anywhere where I had screw heads showing, I just hit them with a white marker just to prevent bleed through. That's all that was. And I sprayed some glue on a piece of cardboard, dabbed my paintbrush in it, and just kind of painted everything in. Let that tack up. Just press them in, which are not going to move. It doesn't take a whole lot of spray coverage because, like I said, these are small areas that are pressure fitted in. They're going to be held in by that rabbit edge anyway. That's going to do a lot of the holding. Just want to get what you can get on the contact surface, prevent rippling and the fabric from lifting off later. Get ready to start adding this decal. Double checking my squareness. Best I could, still going everything by eyeball as well. You know, get everything measured off, taped off, and then back off and look at it. If something was off a little bit, and then readjust it, because you'd be surprised, it may look straight on the tape, but to the eye it may look crooked. So always go with what your eye is telling you, because that's what you're gonna see. Wiping off any of the debris, lint, dust that was left over. Cut the half of the backing off, work one side, rub it on into place, and repeat the process for the top side. You're gonna get air bubbles. You might put a little small dot with a pen or a blade, push those air pockets out. It'll help. A lot of them will pull out anyway over time. And there we go. Black Chevy bow to match that Chevy black bow we got on this Tahoe. Trying to tie everything in together, and that color code matches the interior of his car as well. That black and gray or black and tan. Double checking my ohm load of each sub. That's how I'm gonna wire everything down to his amp. Updating my speaker terminal, stripping everything down, clipping it. 12 gauge OFC. He's good to go now. We upgraded. Got my slits in the terminal spot. Slid them in, added the screws. Excuse me. Tightened it, finished off everything by hand. Always run it by drill, but finish it off by hand. These are some bad boys right here. If you haven't messed with them, trust me. These are great for trucks. This is going in the Tahoe, you know, minimal mounting depth, and it gives you a lot of output, and the price is unbelievable. Didn't have to strip back the 12 gauge speaker wire when I pushed in these terminals either. It went right on. Pre-drilling my holes, slight angle, nothing major. It's just going through 1/2 inch MDF. Final ohm load test at the terminal. I'll finish them on off with some 1 1/4 screws. Set the choke or the chuck light on the drill. Prevent stripping of the wood, and finish them all off by hand. There we go, and this is how it's going to look from the front when you look back in the mirror. But you really won't see them unless the seats are down. But he wanted to go with that stealth mode. Boy, look how thin that is. Look how thin that is. Look at the presence from the back. I like that. I like it. That's it. 2010 Tahoe. If you got a third row, you got kids, you got functions, you can still have that bass in there. This is what you need. Now I'm going to switch and work on the mounting bracket to hold this box in place without any L brackets, any bungee cords, any straps, any chains. None of that is necessary. Use some 3/4 inch MDF. 2 scrap pieces. I'm going to put them together with this Craig jig. No point in going out a brand new piece when you don't need it. It won't be seen anyway. You know, it's going to be held down in place. Ran everything in. 100% glue on each edge, just ensure bondage. There you go. It's hard to argue with that. It ain't perfect. This is the other side. I always get one side that looks great and the other side it don't look too great. But that's after sanding it. It's still touching. That's that glue, is that dark line in there. But again, the box is going to sit right over half of this anyway. There's my outline, my template on top, that cardboard of how it mounts up under the back seat, the hinge mechanisms, the handles, and everything. So when the seats are down, that's what's going to hold this in place when they're locked in place. Scrap wood for templates, jigsawed it out and finish it off with my flush trim bit. Put a small round over on them, just so it's not catching on anything when you slide it in. Primed it, hit it with some paint 2 or 3 times. I think is all I did on this one, just to get it to blend into the background, the carpet, side panels and stuff. But this is what you can use and not have to screw your box down to nothing. No bracket sticking out, no nothing. It's self-sustaining and holding in place by the hardware. And see it right there, by the hardware in the Tahoe. Slides right up under there. You can see it now, can't you? I know you can see it. And everything is still clear. You can still pop your seats forward. You can release everything. That's what those notches are for. No point in making them super, super tight, because the main grab is in the middle and on both sides. And yes, I had to remove it because I'm screwing everything from the inside out. So take the subs back loose. I tell you, it's all part of the game. If you want to do it right, screw back into it, set back in place, and that's the look you get. The seats are clicked all the way forward. And there you go, lock back into place. The backs are laid down. The top of the box is even with the top of the back seat when the seat is in the upright position. Everything is tucked. Plenty of clearance for the subs, the handles, nothing touches. There's his old 12s, them suckers was beaten. And then you got the 210 box. He in there now. Hope y'all liked it. If you got one like it, this is for you. Hit him up with that swag pack and we on to the next one.